concert. I'm going to read you a little bit about the Renaissance period. The Renaissance period covered from 1400 to 1600. The first selection you just heard is from the beginning of the Renaissance period, and it's known for being one of the greatest musical masterpieces of the church. It was not only religious, but polyphonic. Polyphonic means two or more melodies going at once. Prior to this, it was monophonic, which was the Gregorian chant, one melody. The Renaissance era is called the Golden Age because during this period of time, the musical instrument technology led to the development of the viol da gamba, which was a stringed instrument fretted, the lute, the recorder, the harpsichord, and the organ. Music at this time was paramount importance in the Tudor era, from 1485 to 1603, 118 years, which is a considerable part of the Renaissance period. Music played a very important part in the aspect of life. The processions, coronations, funerals, baptisms, fanfares, and announcing the monarch's approach. Music was even played in the monarch's private privy. True. All the Tudor monarchs were very musical, loved music, and took a personal interest in the music in their court. Henry VIII's most important court musician and friend, one that he did not behead, was William Cornish, whom he collaborated on a lot of the court music. If you didn't know it, King Henry was quite the musician himself. He played a variety of musical instruments at that time. But much of what Henry accomplished in his 36-year reign unfortunately remains overshadowed by the 72,000 executions, the cruelty, the annulment of 2 wives, and the beheading of 2 wives. Ah, Robin, Sweet Robin, the next song, was written for Anne Boleyn by William Cornish and Henry to be danced to in court. We certainly hope that she was able to dance to it before she was beheaded. The following number, after Ah, Robin, Sweet Robin, is the dance from the court of the Witch Queen, which was meant to have the flavor of the Renaissance period, but was written much later. Thank you.
Told I need to use this mic, so I will try. Can you hear me? Okay. You've just heard some pieces from the Renaissance period. The period following that is the Baroque period, and as you can see from your program, that extended from 1600 to about 1750. During those 150 years, there was the development of more complex pieces, more intricate harmonies. The idea of the modern orchestra was born during the Baroque, along with the opera, concerto, sonatas, and cantatas. What has come to be called classical music gradually began to work its way into society, being played at dinner parties and special functions, or at spectacles like operas. Composers from the latter part of the Baroque period, I'm not doing something right here, like Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, and George Frederick Handel, Vivaldi, Scarlatti, those composers are widely regarded as having set the stage for the development of classical music for the following 300 years. To give some perspective, I think it's worth mentioning that what we're talking about here, Renaissance period, Baroque period, whatever, this is European or Western music. At this time and even earlier around the world, where music has been part of many different cultures, in places like Persia and India, there was very complex music being written and performed. So we're doing European Western music today. We're going to play 3 examples of music from the Baroque by Handel and Bach. Both were born in Germany within a month of each other in February and March of 1685. Bach came from a very musical family and was encouraged in his music, and a number of his children became famous musicians as well. He is now generally regarded as one of the greatest composers of all time. He wrote many musical compositions, but he also managed to father 20 children with his 2 wives, so he was a busy guy. In contrast to Bach, Handel grew up with a father who was a barber surgeon, and he wanted his son to be a lawyer. But when Handel was interested in music, and with the aid of an aunt, he practiced in secret. Finally, he was seen by some noblemen playing in a church, and the nobleman sought out his father and told him that he had to develop this musical ability in his son because he had such a talent. When Handel was 27, he moved from Germany to England, and while he was there, he wrote 40 operas and 25 oratorios. He wasn't always very happy in England. People teased him for his appearance, for his accent. He considered going back to Germany several times, but he did not do that. And later in his time in England, he wrote the most famous oratorio probably that anyone has ever written, and that of course is the Messiah. The English weren't too happy when they didn't like the Messiah when it was first performed. And at that time, I guess that if audience, and please don't take this as a role model, if audiences didn't like the music, they would get up and walk around. They would, call cat calls back to the performers. They'd go out and get something to eat. And so Handel got discouraged often by this sort of behavior. But as we know, it's lived on long after him and those other people. So the first example of Baroque music that we're going to play, Maestoso, is by Handel. The other two pieces, Fugue in C and Sheep May Safely Graze, is by Johann Sebastian Bach, and you'll probably, at least the second of those Bach pieces, you'll probably recognize because it's been played many times, even at weddings. So thank you, and here comes the Baroque.
Have you enjoyed the concert today so far? Good. So glad you have. There's my seat right there. I can't play today, and I miss it so much, but I'm so glad to be able to sit there in the audience and listen from my side. So thank you, Old Pipes, for helping to make my day too, just a special day. So I'm so glad and welcome to all of you. Well, welcome to the classical period. Now, if you look in your program, it's sometime between 1750 to 1820. Now, just pretend you're at a public concert with all of your friends and your family, and you're listening to the popular composers of the day, like Haydn and Schubert or Mozart, or maybe even the young Beethoven. Now, the harpsichord has been replaced by the piano. And you'd be amazed at the symphonies and the operas and the sonatas that you'd be hearing. The tones are light, and maybe there'll be a special line of music, but it has lots of supporting chords now. Now, composers even added extra notation in their music at this time, maybe making it softer or louder, or maybe faster or slower throughout the music. Now, you might even want to hum along or feel like dancing to our next number, maybe Haydn's Scherzando or Gracioso. And then next after that, you'll hear Mozart's Ave Verum Corpus. Now, that piece actually is a setting of the Latin hymn written at the same time in which he wrote Das klinget so herrlich, which is translated, that sounds so splendid, from the Magic Flute. Can you imagine writing two pieces of different kinds of music, both at the same time? It's like reading a book, two different books at the same time. I don't know how people do that, but he could write music, two different kinds of music, both at the same time. So you'll notice that this music now is more elegant than the Baroque period. So sit back and enjoy the gift of music from the classical period.
roughly 1820 to 1900. And during the Romantic period, thank you, Myrna, you'll see that the themes become longer and more emotive. And you'll notice that in our next piece, which is, what is our next piece? Andante con moto. Thank you all so much. It's the theme from the second movement of Mendelssohn's Fourth Symphony, the Italian Symphony. And you'll notice that the theme is very long and emotive. And then our second piece from the Romantic period is The Emperor Waltz by Johann Strauss. And that was written in 1889 as a symbolic toast of the friendship of the Austro-Hungarian Emperor Franz Joseph I during his visit to the German Emperor Wilhelm II. So we only have two pieces from the Romantic period. reached the 20th century, which we all remember, and needs no introduction, but Betty is going to tell us a little bit about our next
The next piece, Someone to Watch Over Me, most of you probably do know. It was written by Ira and George Gershwin, but it was basically written for Ira's wife, their anniversary in 1923.
play. Before we play our last piece, I don't know where the snacks are. They're not back there. I don't know what's happening with that. We will see you again in August. We'll be back. Thank you all for turning your phones off. It was glorious.